Hi, this is Jessie Chu.
And Quinn Wynn, co-founders of Paper Talk. Welcome to Season 4.
We're here to share paper flower journeys, engage with makers and artists, support small creative businesses, and chat about our obsessions. Follow along as we give a voice to and nurture a community of paper florists from around the world.
We are so grateful that you're here. Make sure to hit subscribe and consider supporting us by writing a review.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Paper Talk. Today we have Kristen Kong Today we have Kristen Kong with us of Campbell Workshops, and she's from the UK, and we are super curious about her recent paper flower journey where she started a YouTube channel and just opened up her own shop, all in the span of 9 to 12 months?
Yeah.
So amazing.
It is super amazing. So welcome.
Oh, thank you for inviting me, Jessie and Queen. It's just amazing to be involved in the Paper Talk. I've heard about it, seen about it a lot, and then I can't believe I'm invited to talk with you as well. It's amazing.
We are so excited to have you here with us, and I really can't wait to hear about your story, how you started as a paper artist. What is your background?
So basically, I technically have never done paper flower before, and until a year and a half before. So basically, I am actually a textile designer. I studied textile design in the UK. So I was here when I was 17 and stay here since. So I study mixed media. So everyone asks me, do you know any textiles or fabrics? I would say not really, but yeah, I do know a little bit. But actually, I would work with a lot of materials or recycling materials. My aim is to give second life to the waste material. So that was my main thing during this my whole life in a way, in my whole adulthood. Yeah, so basically that was kind of my background.
So when did you first discover?
So basically I have tried to do, so basically I have never seen paper flowers before until I actually need to prepare for my wedding. So when I decided to have a wedding reception, actually just before lockdown, so we're planning for it in March in 2020, and then everyone knows that pandemic happened. So basically, I do not have my wedding reception, and then so for preparing the wedding, I actually try to make a theme. It's called Magnolia. So I want to make some decoration for my wedding. So I say okay, I need to try to make something because I don't want to spend too much money on it. And now I'm creative, I should be able to manage it. So that was the first time that I actually make paper flowers. So to be fair, I actually did have a research on okay, what paper flowers or how does it done? So actually I did come across Kristen flower design. I think quite a lot of people would know about her. So I glimpsed through her step-to-step tutorial and say okay, that's more or less I kind of understand, cut the paper, color the paper, and then form the shape, more or less that would make a flower. So I decided, okay, so I'll research also on the style of the flowers and colors of the real magnolias and make my version of it. So that's basically my start and my beginning of paper flower journey. So that was my really first time that I make paper flowers and work with crepe paper and understanding how it works as well. So because of that, I actually make over 100 magnolias and 1 meter, a flower wreath for decoration. But the thing is, the wedding obviously got cancelled because actually my wedding is on the 28th of March, which is 1 week after the pandemic kind of hit, the lockdown. So we managed to push it forward, and then we just able to register, and that's about it. So everything else is in my living room. So everything has not been seen. So it's just for me and my husband to look at. So yeah, it's kind of sad, but to be fair, it kind of started my paper flower journey quite straight away, because without my kind of trying to make my flower decorations, trying to so if I okay, I'll try again. Yeah, without trying to make the flower decoration, I would not try to step into the paper flower world. So I think I'm quite grateful that the pandemic hit in a way and then give me more time as well. Yeah.
That's so interesting. Because Quinn and I both came out of weddings. Me, my own, you, your brothers, right?
Actually, another bride.
Another bride? Yeah, wedding flowers.
Yeah, I guess like paper flowers kind of associate with like wedding quite a lot because it's a long time decoration. You don't need to kind of worry about too much, and then you got your own style. You can like make as much as you wanted. So I think that's why it's so kind of popular. So yeah, I think like for me, it's like magnolias is quite tricky to get, or I feel like that it's not easy. And then I really want to
you have to cut someone's tree.
Exactly. And to be fair, I don't really want to like really hurt don't want to cut down somebody's tree either. So making it always the best way to solve this problem.
Oh. Yeah.
Yes.
Sure.
And magnolia flowers, they don't last as well. They bruise quite easily. And so, yeah.
Reason why they don't put them in bouquets. They probably don't last very well out of water. I mean, like, look at the stems, the branches, essentially. Yeah. So, like, keeping them hydrated. Maybe. Anyway, that's so interesting, though. Yeah, I mean, I suppose a blessing in disguise. Having the pandemic take place immediately after, you're making a ton of magnolia paper flowers. How, actually, I mean, now that you say, you jumped right into paper flowers because it gave you some time. How did the pandemic affect your employment? Because you were on a sabbatical and that gave you time to work on paper flowers?
Yeah, so basically before I step into the paper flower world, I was also a jewelry assistant as well as a sales assistant to sell the jewelry as well. So at that time, I actually do have like more or less a full-time job to support myself. And then so I really do not have much time even I want to do something. So, but then when the pandemic hit, my husband would say, why don't you just make like a video tutorial to put on YouTube? So like to actually do something during this time, because we have no idea how long this is going to last. And then so at the same time, I also started my first video, just the first week of the lockdown. And then I actually started my magnolia tutorial, and then also and afterwards, I also have like new tutorial every weekend and to now as well. So that kind of keep me very consistent and very busy at the same time to explore my style. So yeah.
That's amazing. It's amazing that you can crank out tutorial after tutorial, week after week, because I feel like a lot of people, they get bogged down by the details too much. And creating tutorials, there's definitely a different mindset is when you start cutting the petals, you're constantly thinking like, how can I explain this in a better way so people of various levels of skill can understand and also learn from you? Are you a natural teacher, would you say?
I would say teaching has been in my blood, really, because even now I also teach like some students to get into like art university. I kind of improve their portfolio and like to add my perspective, like how I see things, and then kind of like how to teach them to achieve different things. So I think I've been doing kind of teaching job like on the side for quite a bit of time. And then I found teaching is quite fascinating because like every time that people really appreciate it, how you teach them and they can actually achieve it as well. I think everyone is really happy afterwards. So it's like amazing thing to share my skills. And I also design the tutorials that is much easy. So all the tools that you have in the house, like I only use I don't have any crazy tools. I only got like paintbrushes or a pair of scissors, some basic craft tools. So for everyone to should able to get it in the house. So my idea is to design it as simple as possible so that like even my husband can do it, because like Lewis is my husband. He cannot really do much with his hands. So he's a great painter and a very creative person, but 100% not with his fingers. So that's why I really want to. So he's actually a great model for me to say like, okay, let's make my flower together. And then he actually managed
it. Your test subject.
Yeah,
I love that.
I did a tutorial kind of video in August and actually asked him to do it on my birthday. Say like, it's raining outside, there's nothing to do. How about just do a flower with me? Because there's no much of motivation for him to make a paper flower with me in no reason. So then this is like my excuse to get my birthday present and say like, come on, make it with me. And then we actually film it.
I love that.
So everyone can see that like he actually managed to do it. And then even though it's not as like refined in like cutting papers or petals, it doesn't really matter, because once you put it together, it's more or less look like a flower anyway. So it's like it's your style in it. And then it kind of like everything doesn't have to be like perfect. Even the flower world, like the real flower world, they don't really have the perfect ones, because some of them maybe have a little bit of burn or like a bit of like tear or something like that. So there's no perfect flowers in the real world. Only us paper flowers makers actually make them more perfect than it looks like.
So true.
Yes. We expect more than Mother Nature expects. Her creations, true. Right?
Yeah, people would say like, sometimes I got comments like, it looked better than the flower that actually in my house. But I guess like we can make it perfect, and why not in a way?
Yeah. I do like that you're thinking about, you know, what your target audience would be. Essentially somebody who is like your husband, maybe somebody, except maybe who is interested in making paper flowers, but might not have, you know, a gambit of tools in their toolbox, but just simple, ordinary things that you might have gathered from a lifetime of just, you know, having household things. So I love that you're coming from that perspective. And so for your YouTube, do you know if a lot of the people who do watch your YouTube channel, are they beginners? Are they people who are just heard of paper flowers and they're like, you know what, I want to learn? Or is it kind of like, oh, they discovered you and they're like, oh my God, that looks so cool. That flower is more beautiful than the one I have. I want to make it.
So I think for my YouTube channel, it's difficult to tell, because like there is not such a survey to see like who they are, exactly what their skills level. But I do have people just like, some of them could be just like purely enjoying like how I do the whole process. It could be like therapeutic for them to just watch through the whole process. At the same time, maybe some of them do ask me very technical skills. So I think it's definitely a mixture. So because like how the YouTube work, you kind of need to search them, and then you click on to go like show it to you, so you click on it. So I think you have to kind of need to look at those kind of videos until they actually show them to you. So I guess most of them will have a bit of kind of acknowledge of like paper flowers that exist, and then maybe want to actually make it too. Or maybe they're just for like one time make it. Because I do have a lot of like customers for mine would be just like purely want to make it as a hobby, just like one time, or just like making for a wedding bouquet for their friends and things like that. So it wouldn't be like 100% like skilled people that watch my video. I do have a lot of people that might be just trying to make the paper flowers. So it's quite important that my video is quite easy to follow, and then
accessible.
Yeah, very accessible. And then also like as a video, it's much easier than the photographs, I think, because sometimes I think photographs, from my own experience, to buy like craft kits or do like even origami when I was a kid, I can't really understand diagrams. Like even photographs, sometimes it could be challenging, because like if you don't have much of perspective on what you're doing, that might not convey tell you everything or in details. So in video, it's right in front of you, and you can't really escape from it. So you can edit out like some kind of bits that you actually did right, but then still the whole process is kind of right in front of you. So you can keep repeating it, and then until you get the kind of method. So I think it's quite important that I actually use a video method to it's quite important for me to use a video method to show my kind of step-to-step tutorial.
I agree. I mean, I've done both. In shooting my book, I'm going to tell you, it was crazy how long it took to shoot just the photos for it.
Yeah.
Like,
and edit
it was
as well.
edit it and to make sure it's in focus and to make sure that the shot is like explanatory. Like you said, it's hard to for people when they read and then also look at the photo. If it doesn't match, it doesn't make sense. Then it's a waste, right? Then really it's not comprehensible. So when I was shooting it with photos, with like, I would say, okay, this paragraph of instructions needs this photo, but I had already made the flower half of the way, right? So in a way, video, honestly, it's nonstop. You just make it and explain it at the same time. And it probably would have taken less time just to do it like that than to stop every single time, take a photo or take a couple, and then keep making the flower. And then the next part, stop and take a photo. Like, you have to readjust everything, all the light and everything, every single step of the way. And yet with video, people actually love video because, like you said, it keeps their attention. They're watching someone else do it. They don't really have to read anything. Like, they don't actually have to comprehend translate the words and the images into something comprehensible in their mind. They can watch and understand quite easily. So yeah, I totally understand where you're going.
Yeah, I understand your pain as well with your taking photographs. Because this day we have the reel in Instagram. Oh my God, I need to do because we need to do the kind of time lapse. So I have to also do like one step by step, and then it would take forever because to be fair, time lapse is already faster than what you're doing because you have to be right angles and everything. That one is it's quite annoying because it took you much faster to make the flower itself, but then you have to take a picture one petal per petal
every single time.
Was kind of it was quite painful, really.
It's like they have two cameras at the same time.
Yeah, but
it's the interruptions coming back. Yeah.
Yes, you need those long lenses, the fast shooting where it just takes seconds and then you can flip it up.
I just want that one.
Single.
But it takes you long to go through them as well. It's just oh my God.
I know.
Oh man, real.
But the interesting part is there's a different skill set when you're writing out step-by-step tutorial versus thinking about how to film things so it's clearly understandable through a video system. So it's really interesting that your right brain, your left brain has to work together to give the same output. And it's so interesting because, Jesse and I are doing the Awesome Blossom and we're writing step-by-step tutorials along with filming things in front of a live audience. And to be able to break it down and do it, it just takes a lot of skills that I feel like a lot of people don't understand. And it takes a lot of practice.
Life is more difficult. Life is difficult.
It is.
I mean, life is super difficult because for me, it's I can edit it. So, which means I will film the whole process that I make it, and then I edit it afterwards, and then also write the script afterwards. So it's not like live that you have to know exactly what you're saying because I could mumble a lot in terms of if it's in real life. I think it's really challenging for lives. So so I would say in YouTube videos it's much easier because you can just edit the script afterwards and edit the title.
Yeah.
So it's actually much easier.
Yeah.
Do you edit your own videos?
Yes, I do. Yeah, I do actually. It's quite weird. Yeah, people will not understand how can you do everything by yourself? But it's definitely a one-man band, so I do everything myself. So I design my paper flowers, all the templates, and then you yeah, this is actually my schedule. Okay, what I do every
Yes,
week
tell us your process.
okay, my whole process of the week. So first day, normally I can only spend maximum a day or a half to finish a template. So I should figure out what flower I want to do and then design a paper flower, kind of more or less test it out. And then, okay, next day I will have to make the video. So I have to set up the whole kind of structure and then just make the paper flower. So the whole thing is kind of there because you kind of know what you're doing and then you just make it. So, and then the kind of third day, you kind of have to edit all the footages, and also half a day maybe just like add some like things that haven't been filmed properly or some little kind of final bits that you have to film on the third day. And then after that, you have to edit it as well. So by the end of the third day, you kind of have to put it together, write the script, voice over it, put it back together, tune the color, add the subtitles, and then you can render it. And rendering the video is actually took about like
takes forever
how long it is, but some of the Patreon ones is like almost an hour long. It is like 2 hours, 4 hours or something. So in between bits, I can't touch my computer as well because like you just have to let it be. So I would just do my stretches, do my yoga, do my Pilates, and then that's about it. Until it's done. Okay, I will move on to the YouTube one. So I can make it like, because I'm doing the Patreon one that's longer, YouTube one slightly shorter, more kind of abstract. So, and do the YouTube one done, and then I have to do whole day almost on just like social media and create the templates for like downloads or like the kits and stuff. So it's basically 5 days gone, and then it's just crazy. People don't understand how long it takes, but it definitely takes me at least 5 days to figure things out. But which means I would love to spend more time on creating a paper flowers in terms of like a design or like just like to have a better template or have a better shape. I just could not have that luxury to because of this intense weekly tutorial. I do not have the luxury to actually make them super perfect. So I have to like say like, okay, this is about time. I think it works. I will always ask my husband saying like, is it okay? And I say, okay, that's okay. So we just progress the other bits. So having a weekly tutorial is definitely not easy. So you kind of have to compromise and just be quick, basically. So it's like really crazy brainstorming every week. So it's challenging, but I manage it so far. So it's okay.
Do you ever take breaks? Holiday?
I really kind of like struggle to go on holidays because I feel like I got this commitment. So that I kind of feel bad if I did not put a video of the week. But I have to say, last week I actually got away. So this week I just kind of have to have some old re-edit ones because I just could not. It's a family thing, so I have to go. But really, I tried my best to even like work it ahead. So I prepare like 2 videos in a week and try to work out as quick as possible, create a video and edit later, that kind of thing. So I can have a little bit more spare time. But really, every month probably I can stay to hang out with my friends maybe like twice a month or something maximum. It's like, it's challenging. So I have to say to my people and say like, sorry, I can't be available this week and I'll be back. I always feel sorry to say that though.
An entrepreneur in the making right here. When we talk about your equipment that you film, do you use like an iPhone? Do you use like some sort of camera? And what lighting do you use?
Okay, so normally I really just use sunlight because like daylight is the best lighting, and it will get a bit challenging because UK is going to come into a winter time, so all the light is going to go on by 3 or 4 maximum. So then the video footages cannot be that beautifully done because like I have really even shorter time frame to film. So to be fair, I'm just using really normal light bulbs to like kind of in between white and warm light bulbs. So they are kind of more kind of try to mimic the natural light. but it's still not the perfect. Sunlight is the best. And I just use my really bad bad camera. I do not have a good camera. This is a camera that is almost from at least 5 years ago. So I do not have really strong equipment. This is actually from my dad, and my dad said like, oh,
I used to have one of those.
Yeah, so that is like doesn't even have like time lapse or anything, just basic, really basic. Yeah. So I would really want to invest in one slightly better quality, so you can have like a clear images. But for the video so far, it is still okay. Like you can understand it. It's not too bad in quality. So I just basically use this camera so far, and I'm trying to definitely improve on that. But I just don't think you need that much of like equipment to actually start it. I mean, I do use my iPhone for just normal taking pictures or like time lapses, and I use my iPhone. But iPhone have such a big volume of footages that I don't think it works very well to upload to my computer. It just takes too much space. So I just decided not to use my iPhone for that purpose. So it's only for taking pictures. So it's very basic. I have rid of most basic equipment I have.
But that's the best. It's like, I love that you didn't put a lot of barriers for yourself to actually make it happen. I think a lot of people's fault is like they don't know how to start, and so they don't start. And I just love the fact that you came, this is what I have. I'm going to make it happen. I'm going to do it. All right, here's my schedule. And I feel like you're such a structured person that, you know, you're doing this day, bam, you're done. Yeah. And I think people take too long sometimes to wallow in the mistakes and to think, oh, I need to refilm that because it's not perfect. And you're like, you know what? This is what I have. I have to move on because I have the next video I have to make.
Yeah, exactly. And at the same time, I have to say, like, I actually also have a part-time job. So paper flowers take about 5 days, right? So I got another 2 days. So I actually still, before the pandemic, I was a jeweler assistant. So I still work as a jeweler assistant and also work in a kind of sell in the market as well. So I still have like a stable income in a way. So it kind of it's a bit more secure for me to do my own work on the side. So I actually spend 2 days to work for money and then 5 days in the paper flowers as well. So that's why it's really tight schedule. So I have to make sure everything go on at exactly the right time and everything is on schedule, then I'll be fine. So yeah, so it's going to be very challenging, especially in the November. I'm going to do like 5 physical markets, and then so which means I need to prepare stock, and at the same time I need to like create kind of new items, and then the same schedule though. So I still have exactly the same schedule that I got basically 7 days full. So I have to figure out how to squeeze more time out.
You have endless energy.
You do. You probably can stay up and do all-nighters. Not that I'm encouraging you to.
I really can't. I have to sleep about 11. I sleep like a baby type, so I sleep really early. And then, I don't think I can stay up late. At least I can spend a bit of time, like after dinner or something, when my husband decides to go on exercise or something. Then I got a few more hours to do my thing. But so I would say, like, can you just not come home yet? I still got things to do. Yeah.
It does help when your husband is a workaholic or has his own hobbies, so you can focus on yours.
I mean, he's also a workaholic, so he got his studio at the very least, so we don't have to stay in the same place together. So I'm just staying in the house, and he'd go to his studio, and then he can just come home later if I need to. So, for example, today we have a broadcast, so I asked him to come later because so we can do our own thing.
It's so funny. I'll share with our listeners. So my husband, with the pandemic, has been working at home, and right behind me is his office. And my husband, he's a yeller. He likes to argue with people. And so for longest time before I had these foam panels to kind of buffer down the sound, you could hear him through the walls. And I'm like banging on the walls, like,
oh my God.
Why? Because you're too loud. Everyone can hear you.
Oh my gosh.
It's gotten a lot better. he did go back to work for a little bit, but now because of the Delta variant, he's back at home again. And so we have a much better rules in place. Like, okay, here's my schedule. This is when I'm recording. And so he's been very good about having his meetings outside of our recording time.
That's better. It's about cooperation here. It really makes a difference. Yeah, during the lockdown, basically, me and a husband is like try to stay in the house. And I do not have a big house. I only got a flat, so which is a 1-bedroom flat. So which means I lay out this table right here that is in the bedroom. So you can see my bed over there. And I just open a fold-up table to actually do my thing. So you really don't need that much. So you just need a table and a couple of tools and you can figure things out. So yeah, my husband will work in the other room. And then when I say I'm going to voice over my thing, please do not flush the toilet, move your chair or anything like that. Just like 5 minutes.
Yes. We know your pain.
Yeah, it's funny.
It's so hilarious. Oh my gosh. So you do voiceovers over your YouTube tutorials. Was that a decision you made because you feel more comfortable with that, or was it just like a logistic?
I would say I would say like in the beginning I did try to do some craft tutorials, and I thought like I have to do my voice at the same time. And I realized that it dragged too long. It just like become like a few hours tutorial. That doesn't work because
you want to share so much.
Yeah, I think like it's like focus on details, and then it kind of mumble a lot, and then it actually not very it's just not very descriptive in a way. It's just like talking too much basically. So actually having and at the same time, you also have like videos that is also a little bit fast forward. So it's not like at the same pace. It's like 2 times pace. So which means it's slightly faster. So you can't really do your voice at the same time. So that's why I have to do my voiceover, and I can write the script properly. So I kind of know what I'm saying and put it back into a video in the right position. So I think that's a better way to do it as well.
Interesting. I mean, I guess whatever works for you. I do find that when it seems like it is something like you have to really practice at, like when if it's like live, doing it live, right? You're just doing it live, recording it. And like you said, sometimes you're just like, probably like in your own world, like thinking about something, and you do end up mumbling because you're like talking to yourself, but it's not clear enough for the video. And then you're like, oh no, like that seems unprofessional, or that's pointless because people can't hear you. And I actually had somebody like comment on one of mine where it said, oh, her voice trailed off somewhere. And I was probably mumbling to myself, like talking to myself about something, right? Because like you said, that's what happens. It's different. It is different. And I've seen videos I've seen videos that have voiceovers, and I feel like that is also an art to do it so that's not unnatural, because there's some that are unnatural and I'm like, this is
like they're reading a script sometimes.
Yes. And I'm like, it just doesn't jive with the video. But then I've seen some that like do it really well, and I'm like, and then it's I'm wondering, did they do voiceover or did they not? Wait. Oh, they do it so well.
Wow.
But I was just curious because I'm just curious how you do it, because you knock these YouTube tutorials out so consistently that you must have a routine. Like you must have some sort of process where you're like, just, okay, this. So, but I also know you have a Patreon page. So you just recently started that?
I just about started it 6 months ago, maybe more or less. So it's about in June or something, because I think like I do realize that I do have a few like people that really want to support you. So you will see them like buying all your templates. So I realized that I do have some loyalty customers that really want to support me, and I would like to give them more kind of, so that's why I set up my Patreon page, so that I can give them like my insight of like maybe my experiments or like what I've tried as well when I'm doing my paper flowers until I actually finalize my kind of final paper flower. So So basically, it's kind of easy way to communicate with the people, and also like I are able to offer them like templates, so you can actually the template of each week. So every week that I make a new flower, they can actually get it for free as well, because they pay for the subscription. They pay for the subscription. So that's why it's kind of good for maintaining good relationship with them. And also, if they have any problems, they can always ask me. Although they really don't really ask me, but I try, like, it's open. So you can actually ask me as well. So that's I started about 6 months ago, and I do have about 10 patrons right now, so which is quite good progress. So it's just kind of a time of rolling the dice, and just wait for it.
Yeah.
And I also actually can talk about patient. I actually can also talk about like before my. This is not my first business. Do you want me to talk about that?
Yes,
we'd love to hear. Yes.
I just thought like maybe I can talk something else as well. So so basically, when I was 18, I actually started a paper jewelry kind of business. So it's always around paper, but basically it did help me a lot in the paper flower business as well, because when you're 18, you don't know what you're doing. You just try to do what you think is right and just make new designs, and then just sell it in like markets and just try to sell it online. And to be fair, it was not the best or the most successful at the time, because of the time that you put into it, and then it's a bit too much to pay for flowers. Like the time you put on it, like few hours, and then you can't charge too much because like they're paper. And the people sometimes do not realize the cost of the time versus the value of the materials. So like if you sell a jewelry that is in silver, you can easily sell it for like 25, 30 pounds, like more or less like that. But then if you sell your paper jewelry that is for like 30 pounds, they would say like, but it's just paper, like it's so expensive. But they've forgotten the fact that we actually spend time to make them. And then the time that we spend on them is kind of being neglected in a way. So that's why I kind of didn't have like the best business at that time. I do have a lot of like customer actually want to know how to make them as well. So I do have a lot of like people that say, oh, do you do workshops or tutorials to make your paper jewelry? So at that time, I do have like a seed in my mind and say like people actually want to make them. People actually like making new things. So that become like, I think that probably become also like a little seed for my paper flower as a tutorial or workshops, then over making paper flower to sell them. So I think it's give me a great insight, really great insight on how customer behave and how people think as well. So that's why my business model is more like you learn to make your flower yourself. So it's about the experience, and also like it can be your hobby instead of you just process instead of you just own the flower in your house. So I think that's how the paper flower kind of merge into that kind of area.
That's so true. Yeah, I would say a lot of our students, our paper to profit, we go through that, the mindset of our customers and our mindset on the artists themselves, because sometimes we also struggle with, yes, it's paper and the material itself is not expensive compared to like silver or gold, but the labor, the experience of coming to that level of where you can actually charge quite a lot of money from your experience and also past clients' experience, things that you've shared on Instagram and how you build up your followers. I think that's a really interesting concept about how to change your customer mindset to where they value art versus a craft piece. I find that very, very intriguing. And I'm also like wondering how that affected you when you were 18 to where you are right now, where you're teaching people how to make that happen, because that made such a big impression on you.
Yeah, I think because like at that time people would say like, oh, it's so expensive. And I'm kind of like, oh my God, like I just realized like my people don't understand time. as much as like a person that understands how things made. So I think that's why I don't tend to make paper flowers as commission for myself, because think about it, I do have 5 days of paper flower tutorials how to produce, and then I cannot really fit in any more things to do to make into like commissions. So, but in the beginning, like, to be fair, making tutorials, that is actually more challenging for me as well. So you challenge yourself every week to do different flowers and try different skills. I even got a kind of painters flower collection, so I reference different kind of painters or artists to adapt in their style to make your paper flowers. So I think for that bit, it's more challenging for me. It's less boring for me. So because like making paper flowers constantly, I find it like could be boring for me, because I just keep repeating to the same process, making the same flowers. That you can be exploring the structures and different things, but still it's less challenging for me. I just love making new things and keep creating things. So that's why I feel like it's not my type of thing. So it's kind of depends on the person, really. Like you could be like, you really want to perfect those couple of flowers and make into really amazing commission for customers. That could be like your thing. But then for me, it's definitely the challenge behind as well, to make the video in that really tight schedule. At the same time, I have to try different style at the same time. That really pushed my limit a little bit more. So I found it more interesting for myself.
It's so amazing. There are so many ways to be an artist, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And there's so many things, so many facets of being creative, that some of us are more drawn to one thing versus another thing. And so I think kind of knowing what that is, you know, what draws you to making paper flowers. Yeah, like you said, it might be that you're not made to just crank out, I don't know, flower after flower for customers. It might be that you're more involved in the process. So there's so many ways to shape your business so that it fits your lifestyle and fits your reason for making paper flowers. Yeah, it's a huge thing. And like I've been listening to some like marketing podcasts, and I think the thing that frustrates me about these generic ways of building your business, they don't necessarily speak to the person behind. And I often think that with creatives specifically, we often have unique personalities that don't necessarily jive with your typical business person, the typical person who's striving to create a business to, make it bigger and bigger to make money. Like, it doesn't necessarily jive very well. We're not often aligned with marketing strategies that work with our particular personalities and our particular lifestyles, and even our target market as well. Especially now that our markets, people are so much more sophisticated about knowing when they're being, just whether it's clickbait or they're just suddenly like, oh, you're just selling things to me. Like, you're not actually giving me any value. We have no trust. I do not connect with you. And yet you keep on pushing these things on me. So I think it's so interesting that you're so clear about what you're good at and what makes you tick, and that you've been able to shape your business in a way that is aligned with the type of people that you can connect with. Because I think we often struggle with that. Often we look at what do we want to do and and then we think, oh, who's going to buy my stuff? When really, like, as creatives, we often neglect the fact that we don't always have a choice. We have to kind of figure out, okay, well, who out there is our market? Like, who do we want to talk to versus, who would want to talk to me? Because I think that message is different. And so for you, you're very clear in terms of who talks to you, people who actually wanted to learn from you, right? Learn how to make paper jewelry. And so from there, you knew that there was a market for that, for people who wanted to make things out of paper. And you speaking directly to that as a result from that experience, I think that's a really great example of how you listened to that market that already exists. Like you don't have to create a new one. It already exists. And that's a perfect way of aligning your business with what's there. So I admire you for that. It's not something simple. It's not easy for people to I was going to say, it's not clear for a lot of people. A lot of people don't know how to figure out who their target market is. And yet somehow you've been able to listen through your experience and kind of feedback on that. So good for you.
Yeah, I feel like it's at a time, like even people ask about it, I kind of like thinking like, oh, but then I don't want to share my skills. And you got a lot of worries. Like a lot of people do have like, oh, will they be like doing better than you? That's always like a big worry for a lot of people, even when I was 18. So like at a time I feel like oh, but then if I have workshop, does it mean that everyone is going to copy my stuff and then like I would not able to do my thing? So but then the thing is, afterwards I realized that people just enjoy experience to start with, so that's number one. But then also second thing would be like, to be fair, you have to be on top of your game as well. So like you don't need to worry about like people learn from you. Obviously they will kind of make the same thing as you do, but to be fair, not everyone can make exactly the same thing. Even I cannot make exactly the same thing myself, even like after like a week, a month or something, and I'll go back to a flower and say I need to make this one again. But then always you will find a different way to do your thing. So that's why it's kind of like I stopped to worry too much in a way. So I kind of step up and say like, I would just do this because I know it will work, and I just don't need to think too much. Just basically don't think too much and just keep working, because I don't think there's
You're both fish.
Yeah, I feel like there's like quote. Yeah, I feel like right now I don't think a lot of people can keep up with my time pace, because like I'm so
not at all.
Yeah, because I'm so quick, I'm so consistent, so people kind of already kind of know that okay, Campbell workshop is here and they do paper flowers. Sometimes maybe craft, but maybe paper flowers. So they know that you're existent. So people, if they really want to learn something, they will just get back to you. So I guess you just stop worrying too much, I suppose. And then like, yeah, I just don't know what to say. Just like stop worrying and just try it. Yeah.
Well, first, I think it's absolutely normal to think that, to be scared that people are going to copy you and be better than you. I think that's completely natural. And at 18, the younger you are, the more likely you're going to think that way. Like because you haven't gained the experience to know that there's more to life than just someone learning from you and they're better than you. There are always going to be people better than you in this world, whether they learn from you or not. It doesn't matter. But secondly, the fact that you talked about consistency, I think that, yes, you're totally right. Like I think that is your strength. And you're a prime example of how if you focus on one thing and you do it well, you'll succeed. And I think that's the problem that a lot of us have, is that we try to do too many things. We do too many things and we can't get any crap done. Where we can't get anything done, right? So I think like you're a prime example of, you know what, if you're just starting out making paper flowers, focus on one thing and do it well and be known for it. You only need one thing. One thing is going to make you stand out from the crowd. And it could be teaching. It could be on Patreon. It could be on YouTube. It could be teaching on IGTV. It could be just selling flowers just for weddings or just doing installation, whatever it is, just one thing. Focus your time on it. And honestly, it takes time to grow. It takes time to grow because, you know, that's how things go. That's the natural transition of things, and evolution is that it takes time. You won't get to A to B within, you know, a short period of time without having a ton of experience behind you. So yeah, no, I think you serve as a great example of what you know, somebody who
lost you
to it.
Oh, Jesse, we lost you for like a good bit. You might have to repeat that part.
I don't know where it was. It's not used.
We're so passionate. It was great.
Yeah, it was great, but yeah, the kind of last few sentences got lost a little bit.
I don't know what I was saying. I probably was saying something about sticking to, like, finding one thing. Yeah, essentially just find one thing that you're good at and just stick to it for a couple years and try not to like spread yourself too thin.
Yeah, play the long game, because if you're here to stay, if you're passionate about paper flowers and you know it's going to be more than just a hobby, stick with it, because you don't know how you're going to grow as an artist, because you want to dabble and try and experiment. And I love that. And I love that you took your past experience to grow what you're doing right now. I feel like your journey got shortened so much because you started out so young at, 18.
It's true.
You knew what you wanted. It's incredible. I love that so much. But to end this podcast, because it's been an amazing conversation, what is your favorite app right now?
Okay, I have to say my favorite app will be, it's called Canva. I'm not sure if you have heard of it. It's called Canva.
Oh, yes.
So
we love Canva.
Yeah, it's just, easy to use. And then I use them to make my thumbnails. It's just like everything's kind of there. As long as you already got your kind of like, you already set things there, you kind of just keep changing the photograph and then text, and that's about it. So yeah, Canva is kind of one of the most useful thing that I've used for building this app as well. Like you can use it just like make some posts and things like that. Just like I use it on Photoshop, obviously, but then it's Canva. It got like the standard template. It just really help you to less brainer to just make something that is look nice. So yeah, so I do definitely use Canva quite a lot.
Yeah, it keeps you consistent.
Yeah. Since you mentioned that you use Canva for your thumbnails, can you give us one tip on what do you find makes, I don't know, how do I phrase it? What's the best way to make a YouTube thumbnail? Like what's important about that YouTube thumbnail that will draw people in?
Okay. Okay, in my point of view, I would say like I always have my flower in a really white background, very clear kind of image. So I always will edit all the kind of background colors out. So even it's a bit yellow, I would just put it out because you want it to have a really sharp image. So at the same time, you want to have quite a nice, for me, it's quite a nice, elegant that I kind of use all the time. But because I don't want to be too bulky, that is look like a punk thing. It's just because paper flower is meant to be elegant and it's just slightly more kind of pretty. So I decided to use kind of quite elegant kind of font. So it's basically just be quite simple and just quite to say yes, this is just magnolia, and then just how to make magnolia with crepe paper. That's it. You don't have to be too creative with that thing. Because people will fall into the flower that you make that is on the image. It's just the paper flower would have to be taken really beautifully, and then that will work. Because I don't think you really need very complicated kind of thumbnails, because it's going to be a tutorial after all. It's not going to be I'm going to be in the house or, the vloggers. There's no background whatsoever. So it's really difficult to have really interesting image for every flower. So a nice picture of it and just good type, very clear, that would do.
Perfect.
That's wonderful. Oh, thank you so much, Kristen, for being on our talk show.
Thank you for having me as well.
Oh, you're so welcome. It was so wonderful getting to know you. And I'm sure our listeners are interested in getting to know the face behind Campbell Workshop as well.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much for having me. I'm just it's quite amazing to speak with two of the top on the paper flower. I was exciting. I'm a little fan because their paper flower is so amazing. I kind of look up to them 100%.
Oh, thank you so much.
You're so sweet.
Thank you so much.
Oh, you're so welcome.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Paper Talk.
Today's episode is sponsored by our patrons, Elaine Lem, Moria Van White, Renee McDowell, Jennifer Desplantes, Robin, Bonnie Slipper, Laura Wheely, Martha Tokus, Nina, Linda Drysdale, Lucinda, and Tina Proctor. We appreciate your donation, and we're excited to keep creating content for our paper flower community. If you're interested in supporting us, head on over to our Patreon page at www.patreon.com/papertalk and sign up as a patron. We would love to see you there.